Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Marvel's CHASM, part of the Spider-Man not quite retro series of figures. It is a carded packaging, which by the way is awesome. I love this look. Hasbro has nailed the retro packaging for sure, and these not quite retro packages, unless this was one of the old ones that I just don't remember. I don't know. Either way, the packaging looks awesome, so kudos to them for that very cool idea for them to go this route. And so that's cool. But the figure is, I think, one that a lot of people were really interested in. Kind of a cool character. Definitely a cool character design. How's the figure? That's the question. There's some stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just shy of 6.5 inches. That's going to make him roughly 16.5 centimeters. Here he is up against Darwin. They should be just about, yeah, they're pretty much the same exact height. Okay, so let's do a quick question of the day. How do you guys feel about these figures that are almost literally just repainted blank bodies? Is it okay, or is it not okay? And here's where I think you guys can maybe find the answer to that question for yourself. For me, it's okay when there's something else of value added in the package. A nice paint job is great, we'll talk about that here, but no accessories and a reused blank body, that doesn't really fly for me, not at a $26 price point. I think we need to have like way more hands and other things going on in order to justify these blank bodies that are just getting paint on them and a new head. But you guys can let me know what you think. Okay, so let's talk about the aesthetic on this guy. I'll get the bad out of the way first so that we can focus on the good. The bad is this body is definitely in need of replacement. It happens to be one of Hasbro's better bodies in a lot of ways. We'll get to the articulation in a little bit. It's pretty darn good for posing, but we do still have the really droopy shoulders, the really big obliques, the huge thigh gap. Just, it doesn't have any sort of that comic book proportion look to it. The individual muscles are pretty good until we get up to the shoulders, but it does have a very wimpy look to it thanks to those low, small shoulders and the weird waist and big thigh gap. So that's definitely a downside. It hurts the figure a lot because what Hasbro did here is an exceptional paint job. It's not absolutely perfect, but it is darn good. Maybe it's not perfectly accurate like around the shoulders and stuff, but this paint job is clean as heck. That seafoam green up against that purple and black, it's almost exactly where it's supposed to be everywhere, which is certainly good enough by me. For any sort of mass-produced figure, you're never going to have a perfect paint job. I mean, even on figure arts and things like that, the more expensive figures, hell, Mayfex, they never get their paints right. This is a damn good paint job, especially for Hasbro. So huge bonus points for this figure for the clean paint job. Even down here on these little guys, they did a pretty darn good job. And then they have this kind of glowing effect on the Scarlet Spider wrist thingies. So it's a pretty darn good paint job. Let's look at the head. It is also painted really well. It does have some sculpting in there for the eyes, so that's good. But yeah, the head, it looks big because the body is not proportioned properly. We have small, low shoulders, which really makes the head look big. The body does not do this figure justice. The paint job is impressive, though, very impressive. One of the best paint jobs Hasbro has done. So it's very disappointing that they would use such a dumpy body on such a good paint job and such a cool and I think pretty anticipated character. So if I was rating it without counting the problems of the body, this would be a 9 for the aesthetic. But the body is there. Unfortunately, it's built on a pretty janky body. I'll do a Photoshop for you guys, just a quick one so you can see. I have to go down to only... I want to give it extra point. I'm going to give it a bonus point for the paint. I was going to say 7, but that paint is clean. And it's a nice matte finish mostly, so I do like that a lot too. This figure's so close to being good, but Hasbro Hasbro'd again on a crap body. Nice finish, nice paint, crap body. What the heck am I supposed to do with that? I'm going to be super generous and give it an 8 because that paint job is so clean though. Alright, now as far as accessories go, like I mentioned in the beginning, on this blank repaint body, we should have a ton. And all we get are 2 little swirlies, which we've seen before. They're not even new. They're, I guess, nicely colored. They're good enough. But we don't have alternate hands. We don't have any sort of energy. We don't have anything for this other than these little swirlies. 0 out of 10. Spite point taken away. It was going to get a 1, but not on a repainted body that's this old at this point. Alright, let's talk about the articulation. It is the strong suit for this particular mold. Let's see if it still holds up for this guy. He can look up. He can look down. He can rotate side to side. Attitude, basically non-existent. We really need to move into the effective, good double ball pegs. If Hasbro did good double ball pegs, nobody would be arguing for this crappy dated hinge anymore. But they don't do good double ball pegs, and that's really unfortunate. For the shoulders, we get the butterfly joint on this guy, which is a perfect example because this is one of Hasbro's better butterfly joints. It goes back very, very nicely, like all the way, so that's really, really good. Now going forward, you have the same problem that all butterfly joints have, in that the joint is limited by the sculpt of the chest and how you cut it out. Now because Hasbro, I happen to have a Broly figure here, I'll use his hand to point at things because my fingers are bigger than his. So the fact that they cut this out at such an angle, this triangle shape, this part right here gets in the way of the butterfly joint, and you just can't bring the arm forward there. It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all, really, bringing the arm forward. Now, the only way to actually use this joint is to go all the way up. This shoulder's really tight. All the way up here, where that cutout is farthest over. And that gives you the range you're looking for like a web swing or something, sure, but the way they've cut it at a triangle shape, basically at an angle here, it just ruins the effectiveness of the butterfly joint, whereas back here it's nice and rounded. You can get it all the way back. So what you end up with is a cut up chest that doesn't really work that well. And if they had just tinkered with it a little bit more, you could actually have less plastic removed overall and have better range out of that shoulder. So I'm still on the side of butterfly joints. Unless they're executed exceptionally well, the range just doesn't benefit it. Unless you want to just go simply on the back like the Hulk figure, and this guy might as well be, that way the chest looks good, but you get a little bit of extra range there. I guess I could see that argument. But for me, they've just cut up the sculpt way too much, and that does hurt this guy. Okay, so let's see. The shoulders do rotate all the way around. This shoulder is especially tight in there. I don't know why. But you can get it up to horizontal if you use a whole lot of man strength and tuck it in. But so that works. That's good. Shoulders fine. Still really tiny. Bicep swivel is okay. Double jointed elbows, they function, but they are pinless, so you do get that color mismatch. It's funny they went with the black. I mean, I guess it makes sense because they had to use it down here anyway, but so you get dots on his sides. I don't even care about pinless joints, but they should throw some paint on there. Okay, so the ab crunch on this guy is notoriously bad for making him look pregnant. Still does that, but the paint is continued, so props to them for that. Do people still say props? He does lean forward nicely enough. Still have a weird lump here because they can't do ab crunches properly, and that's a really dated, crappy joint anyway. But the paint is continued very nicely. I don't know what they did with this figure, but the paint is so nicely done. All right, waist twist is, of course, a waist twist, so that's fine. Hips on this guy, some of the better hips we have, they do kick up a little bit better than horizontal. They only fling out to the side a little bit, so let's square him up. That waist is weird. It keeps wanting to catch. So when you bring the legs forward, they do kick out to the side a little bit as you go up, but not too bad, so I'll take that. He does get really nice range out of them. They go back just a touch. Going out to the side, better than 45. Not full on splits, which is definitely desirable for a Spider-Man. And I think on this one, it's mostly limited by the sculpt of the cutout for the joint, not actually by the placement of the peg. I'm not sure, but they could have easily had splits, which is unfortunate. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee works nicely. One of the better proportion figures. It's not terribly bad. I do think we could have a little bit more here, a little bit less here, but it's pretty close to top of the hip, which is where you want the bottom of the foot. So that's okay, but good range in the knees. You do get your boot swivel if you want that. This one's not a bad one. It's one of the better sculpted cuts, so it's okay by me, though I don't ever use the boot swivel because it's just so damn ugly. But it's there. I don't know why they don't put it lower where it's smaller, and it would be more round rather than triangular shaped for the calf. Anyway, feet go all the way back and pretty far forward, and you get a decent ankle rocker. So as usual, this body does pose pretty well, aside from Hasbro using kind of gummy PVC. So yeah, it poses well. I'll give it, for Marvel Legends, an 8. It does pose nicely. But this figure, despite the good posability, is definitely held back aesthetically by this sculpt. It has such weird things going on, particularly the thigh gap and the small shoulders. I could overlook the weird obliques and other issues, but the small low shoulders and thigh gap really make him look frumpy, so that's a bummer. Lack of accessories is simply like we're paying for something that we're not getting, so that's not good. So my final verdict on this guy is going to be only a 7 out of 10. It's too much of just a repaint to not have more accessories and to be using this old body. It's not cool. Like, the paint job's amazing and I want to give the figure a better rating personally, but objectively, $26, this is not. Like, not even close. So I'm curious what you guys think in the comment section below, though. Despite the really good paint job, are you disappointed with this release, or are you satisfied? Let me know. Alright guys, there it is. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.